We spend so much of our lives figuring out the what and the why of our goals. But what if the most important piece of the puzzle is actually the when? In this explainer, we're going to dive into how mastering the art of divine timing can literally change everything.
Oh, you know this feeling, right? You've got a brilliant idea, a really important conversation you need to have, or a huge life move you're totally ready for. You go for it, you push, and it just flops. It's a total disaster. And you realize the right action at the wrong time is basically the wrong action. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be like that. Today, we're going to unpack a whole different way of doing things, one that's all about listening, observing, and moving in sync with the natural rhythm of life, instead of trying to muscle our way through it. So, let's get into it. We're going to start with a new framework for thinking about all this, a foundational skill that's really at the heart of perfect timing. There's actually a word for this in yogic philosophy. It's called viveka, or discernment. And it's not just about telling right from wrong. In a really practical way, it's the wisdom to know the perfect moment for action. It's kind of like learning to read the universe's clock instead of just your own. And this gives us the perfect way to think about it, the ripe fruit analogy. Imagine you see a mango on a tree. If you get impatient and you grab it too early, well, it's sour, right? If you forget about it and wait too long, it's rotten. But if you just watch patiently, there's this perfect moment where it's ripe and it practically falls into your hand with the gentlest touch. That effortless success, that's what perfect timing feels like.
So if it's that simple, why are we so bad at this? Well, it usually comes down to a battle between two different clocks we all have ticking inside us. So on one side, you've got ego time. This is the toddler inside all of us screaming, "I want it now." It's super impatient, it lives in this constant state of anxious waiting, and it tries to force things to happen before they're ready. But on the other side, you have divine time. This clock operates in seasons. It gets that there's a time for planting and a time for harvesting. It allows things to ripen on their own, and its form of waiting isn't anxious at all. It's what you'd call active patience.
I mean, think about it like this. A baby takes 9 months to develop. You can't make it happen in 4 months by just working harder at it. It's impossible. Some of our goals are just like that. They have a natural gestation period. The trick isn't just to wait, but to shift your whole mindset from passively waiting to actively ripening. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we learn to read these signs and know when the moment is actually right? Let's get into the practical tools.
The first tool is a really simple framework I like to call the traffic light system. The universe is constantly sending us signals, basically telling us to stop, slow down, or go. Our only job is to start paying attention. First up, the red light. This is when you try to move forward and just everything goes wrong. The printer jams, your meeting gets canceled, the file corrupts. Our ego screams at us, push harder, smash through that wall. But you know what? Sometimes a wall is just a wall. A red light is a clear, unmistakable signal to stop. And it's not a punishment. More often than not, the universe is actually protecting you from a bad move. Then you have the yellow light. This is that murky feeling of uncertainty. When the details are kind of fuzzy, you feel hesitant, and something just feels a little off. This doesn't mean you slam on the brakes. It just means slow down. It's time to gather more info, watch how things unfold, but don't fully commit until things become clear. And finally, the glorious green light. This is when things just flow. Everything clicks into place. One phone call just naturally leads to the perfect opportunity. You feel energized, you're in the zone, and the path forward just seems to open up all by itself. When you get a green light, that's your cue. Go for it, and go with confidence. One of the absolute clearest signs of a green light is something the psychologist Carl Jung called synchronicity. This is when you start to notice these meaningful coincidences, events happening in the outside world that seem to perfectly mirror what you're thinking or feeling inside. A fantastic way to spot these is using the rule of 3. Let's say you're thinking about a specific book. Then, out of the blue, a friend mentions it. That's 1. The very next day, you walk past a bookstore and see it in the window. That's 2. Then a third person recommends it to you in an email. Okay, that is not a coincidence anymore. That's the universe putting up a giant billboard that says, "Hey, read this book." Now, beyond all the external signs, your own body is maybe the most incredible guide you have. Try this. Think about a decision you're wrestling with. Close your eyes. Does the thought of it make your body feel tight? like a little knot in your stomach or your shoulders tense up? That's a physical no, or at least a wait. Or does it create a feeling of expansion, a little sigh of relief, a lightness in your chest? That's your body's way of screaming yes. So what are we supposed to do when we get a red or a yellow light? How do we actually handle that waiting game? Well, it's not about doing nothing. It's about understanding the immense power of the pause. This ancient piece of wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita really holds the key. The time you spend waiting is not passive. It's actually a period of intense, powerful internal action. The archer's stance is the perfect metaphor here. Think about an archer. First, they draw the bowstring back, gathering all their intention and energy. Then they hold it perfectly still. But are they doing nothing? No way. They're holding a huge amount of tension. They're aiming, observing, waiting for that one perfect moment to let go. That inaction is the most important part of the whole process. The final release is quick and effortless precisely because of all the powerful preparation that came before it. All right, let's bring all of this together. How can we use this wisdom to totally reframe our entire approach to life? This leads us to a really crucial shift in perspective. We have to stop treating our lives like a 100-meter dash. It's not a sprint to the finish line. It's much more like a waltz, a dance that has its own beautiful, distinct rhythm. In a dance, you don't just bulldoze your way forward. You step forward, yes, but you also step back. You pause, you listen to the music, and you adjust your pace to match it. And maybe most importantly, you have to trust your partner, whether you call that the universe, God, or the divine, to lead. The moment you stop fighting and start flowing with that lead, your whole life can become this thing of incredible grace and beauty. And really, that leaves us with one last simple question. In the middle of your busy day, in the constant rush to get to the next thing, are you taking a moment to stop and just listen to the music? Because it's playing all around you right now.